Greetings and welcome to Sports 101, the show that discusses sports beyond the X's and O's. We like to expand our conversation on sport to include history and the past, present, and future outcomes that'll happen in sport. I'm your host, Jamar Harp. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Coach_Harp412. Also, make sure you get social with SportsZone Chicago and all of her shows by following us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all named SportsZone Chicago. You can go there and look up this great variety of shows that's being offered and expanding daily. There's new shows popping up all the time. There's a new one I just started this week. Um, just tune in, it's amazing. Remember, Sports Zone Chicago is a sports talk app. You can watch and listen to your favorite shows live, or you can upload them anytime by going to the Sports Zone YouTube channel. And also, please subscribe via the Sports Zone Chicago app. You can find the app on the iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Now, I would like to take you into tonight's episode entitled The NBA Draft and International Marketing. If you recall on previous shows, we talked about the NBA starting its league in Nigeria. Well, the draft that's going on right now in the top six picks, there was two first generation Americans of Nigerian descent already picked. Now, if you hearken this back to the push in Europe in the early 90s, I'm predicting an influx of more Nigerian American or Nigerian basketball players in the upcoming years based off the formation of this new basketball league, professional league in Nigeria, as well as the individuals that moved to the United States and the first generation Nigerian children. So now let's talk about the draft. How does the draft really work? Okay, so the 14 teams that don't make the playoffs, they're eligible for the lottery, and the lottery is the top 14 picks in the NBA draft. Um, the draft lottery is set with these and includes, the top picks, but it goes down to the all the way down to the 14th pick. This system was changed by the NBA in 2017. And what the NBA draft lottery is designed to do is it ensures a team with the worst record or see no worse than the fifth pick. That's when you see they have the lottery show and they do the balls based off your wins and losses. And they come up and you see the first five picks are. So that's what that is about. But the lottery actually extends to the 14th pick. That's something that most people don't realize. Um, the draft selections for the remainder of the first round and the second round. So the first round would be after the lottery, that's 15 through 30. And the second round, which would be 30 through 60, are determined by reverse order of regular season record. So each NBA team gets one selection in the first round and one selection in the second round, unless a trade is made. And oftentimes you do see that. How do they get to make these picks? Outside of this year, due to COVID, there's always a lot of activities that lead up to the draft. Obviously, you have the college season, or sometimes now the international season, as players are opting to go 1 year overseas instead of playing in college basketball. After that, then you have a litany of combines that you can go to, the East Coast, excuse me, an East Coast combine, and there's different regional ones, and then they'll have a big NBA combine where you do multiple drills, and it's just like the NFL. They take your body measurables. Some of the key things that they measure in the NBA. Well, let's talk about the testing. A lot of the drills they do, of course, they do the medical and mental test, but they also do 5-on-5 drills, 3-on-3, a variety of different cuts and scenarios that they may face on the NBA level. Then they get tested in your basic plyometric activities, which would include vertical jump, max vertical jump, and that's with one step or without a step. Bench press, 3/4 court sprint time, and then lane agility. Basically, how fast can they move in and out the lane? As you know, you're allowed to play zone defense in the NBA now. However, often teams do like to play man a lot still, but sometimes that zone is implemented with these great shooters, or sometimes teams that can penetrate and cannot shoot. If you looked at the way the Houston Rockets were played sometimes in the postseason when they weren't hot, oftentimes that's that zone defense. So they look for defenders that not only can defend on the ball, but can move throughout the lane, which is going to different sides of the court. Um, a lot of these measurements also coincide with their body as well. So they'll measure your height without shoes, height with shoes, and wingspan, weight, your standing reach, meaning how far can you reach going forward, body fat, the hand lift, and hand width. A lot of those things are important in regards to if I'm trying to guard a defender vertically and going up and not trying to get a foul. If I'm reaching my arms out, trying to cloud the passing lane with my hands or fingers, and how I can control the ball. If I can control the ball with one hand, it could be easier to achieve certain things versus if I had smaller hands and I had to put the ball on the ground, which is a higher tendency for it to be stolen. A quick fact: in 2013, Rudy Gobert he set the combine record for wingspan. Now he had a wingspan of 7 feet 8.5 inches. So his wingspan, if he just spread his arms out to the side, his arms are 7 feet, almost 7 feet 9 inches long, and his standing reach, which is standing, vertical and reaching straight up, is 9 feet 7 inches long. So those are some intangibles that people look at, especially on a 7 foot guy. So he should be able to have a greater radius in which he can defend the ball or actual human. Another fact in 2018, Taco Fall, he became the tallest player ever in the NBA at 7 feet 7 inches. So again, that will help his game as if he got the ball high, he won't have to put it down. And he's actually playing very close to the basket. If you ever saw Taco Fall play, not only in college but in the NBA, he's still trying to get his game up. But he actually really does play at the rim. Um, Now let's look at the current NBA draft. Now, some of the top prospects, 2020, obviously you have LaMelo Ball, um, Obi Toppin, Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, Isaac Okora, again, one of those first generation Nigerian Americans, Tyrese Halliburton, and Patrick Williams. If you look at all those individuals, all of those gentlemen come from the college basketball scene. And again, that's imperative because if you see the underlying elements that are taking place, there's an actual fight right now in regards to college basketball and high school athletes opting out and going overseas, taking the Brandon Jennings route. So to see the picks that came this year, besides LaMelo Ball, all of them came through the college system, which is still giving its credence.
Talk a little bit about LaMelo Ball and how he's really different in this draft, because he is touted, and you talk about this a little later in the show because I get privy to seeing the rundown, but he's touted as like possibly being the number one pick, but yet we've never really seen him play because he didn't really play in high school to see it. He then went to the Euro League, which is structured entirely different than how things are in the U.S. There is no college basketball system in Europe. It's league levels. So you kind of move through it. So it's interesting that he could be possibly the number one prospect when we really don't have nearly the amount of scouting, nor do we know that the competition that he played against makes him qualifies him as number one pick. What do you think about that?
Well, just to break that down, so when LaMelo Ball was at Chino Hills, obviously he played in a system designed for him and his brothers. The coach was handpicked by the dad. After that, the coach decided to kind of chisel down the offense. Then he was removed. He then went, I think it was to another prep school before he went overseas. And actually, when he was in Lithuania, those were all exhibition games. It wasn't actually like a league. So he was playing against older people, which is a benefit because if I'm 17 and I'm playing against 25 and 30-year-olds, even not on the same level, I can get used to that banging. Then when he went to the Australian Basketball League, an interesting fact is that the team he played for didn't pay his salary. The league paid his salary and mandated that he start every game at point guard. He struggled in shooting. He went, I believe, 20 for 80 in three-point shooting, which is dismal, related to the percentages that you need to shoot now to be competitive in the NBA. He did have some highlight reel assists, but he's still using that running gun philosophy, similar to what Steph Curry uses. So I do think he has some merit being a top 3 pick because if you look at most of the picks, they're all based off of potential. A lot of the European picks, which I do kind of touch on later, they can't play defense. They have a lot of deficiencies, yet they still go, and a lot of them don't pan out. End up in a D League now, or just going back to their Euro League team. So I do think there is some merit based off of what he's shown, and then his potential and his upside. You're muted, Maya.
Have a familiarity with what he's done. You just gave some great stats on kind of like success, and I do believe that he was definitely playing at a higher level in Europe in regards to how they're structured. It's like they're kind of high school type league. Then you move to like what would be college. And I do believe, especially in the Euro League, a lot of people are weeded out very quickly, in regards to being competitive. So for him to be able, like you said, to play against people of that age, we know that the Euro League is far more fundamentally focused, so to speak, than basketball is here necessarily in the US. So it'll be interesting to see. I expect for him to be a top pick on the top. I don't know if I can make him number 1, but I think he earns credence maybe to be in the top 10.
Well, the team he went to, the Charlotte Hornets, or Bobcats, excuse me. Well, Michael Jordan, under ownership, I think is a great place for him, where you can have someone that can kind of push him, getting to mature mentally, and then it's a small market. So
wait a minute? You said he went to the Bobcats? Is that what you said?
Yeah, he went number 3 to Charlotte.
I'm gonna tell you what. Michael Jordan did that just to spite his father. He did that. He drafted him because LeVar Ball talked so crazy about Michael Jordan and how he could have beat him. Michael Jordan did that. Like, now I own your son. How about that? That's funny right there. No, I'll be curious to see how well he does because of how there seems to be, as you talked about later, I'm checking out at this point, this love affair with Euro players. And I wonder how much of that was kind of increased his stock and going so high in the draft. All right.
Well, if you look at it, there's a lot of, and thank you so much. That's my sensei, Maya Kai. If you look at it, there's a lot of European players that actually withdrew their names from the draft. As previously stated, most years there's an NBA draft combine where a couple hundred guys get selected and they go through, the drills and the 5-on-5 games, etc. But this year was canceled. So there was a lot of not only European players, but collegiate athletes. Because obviously after your first year of college, you can opt out and, enter the draft. But a lot of people took their names out because they didn't have that stage to prove themselves at the combine. The combine is a place where if I'm from a small school like Virginia Union and I'm Charles Oakley, I can go and make a name for myself. But if that's not available, then a lot of the talent that was at larger institutions, that are, the diaper dandies, the 1 year wonders that have a chance to go, as well as the smaller schools, which leads us to our next segment. If we look at HBCU basketball in the NBA draft, currently there's only two HBU players in the NBA. You have Paulo Quinn from Norfolk State, and then Robert Covington from Tennessee State. And many HBCU players, due to this, they feel the need to transfer to different schools. This goes into topics that we invoked on other shows. This is Paulo Quinn right here, doing some dirty work for the New York Knicks. He's a serviceable, bench player. Again, this is Robert Covington from Tennessee State. A very good wing defender, and is making a name for herself, in that element. Um, Again, a lot of these HBCU players feel the need to transfer because they're not getting the opportunities to play professionally that they feel they should have. In my personal opinion, I believe is a lot of the top HBCU talent is not at HBCUs, so therefore a lot of these players cannot make it to the NBA. There are some that should get a chance and are overlooked, but a great majority, again, until we see this transformation of individuals going back to where it all started, that argument doesn't have that much merit to me right now. So now, when we look at the NCAA eligibility rules, they allow players with bachelor's degrees to compete as graduate transfers at a different Division I school as long as they meet certain criteria. These players are known as grad transfers. So when you look at that criteria, the criteria means you had to be obviously in good standing at your previous institution and meet the NCAA requirements. So if you look at your requirements towards graduations, oftentimes the only criteria that these athletes have to meet is to graduate. Once they're graduated, they can put their name in what is the buzz now in collegiate athletics, the NCAA portal, which is hotter than the soap opera and the tabloids. Before, you had to go through a process of contacting the school, the compliance director, sports information, one of the coaches to get a release. Now with the NCAA transfer portal, students can enter their NCAA collegiate ID number. It's a number given to each collegiate athlete once they um, enter the NCAA athletic system per se. You have to register with the eligibility center to be able to play. That's how you get your number. So now you can just submit your number and be eligible to transfer. You still have to meet certain criteria, but the process of the coaches blocking you, that's kind of dying down to this. Again, the NCAA committee incorporated a new transfer rule that I just talked about, giving Division I student athletes the ability to transfer to different schools and receive scholarship without asking the permission of their current school. And again, that's the transfer portal. That's what coaches are whining and complaining about now, not only in football and basketball, as they're saying the middlemen or the street agents or enticing students to transfer to certain schools to try to build super teams similar to the NBA, um, especially with the COVID pandemic. Oftentimes, when you get a 1 year free, which is going now that you can transfer without stipulation, students will try to load up and go to certain schools. And again, a lot of people feel like, that's cheating. But again, the transfer portal was instituted because so many schools blocked students in the past of going to different programs based off of, just spite sometimes, or they didn't want to face them in competition. Um, Here are some pertinent athletes that transfer from HBCUs looking for greener pastures at different institutions. In 2018, again, a Nigerian American, Femi Olajobu, he finished his last season at North Carolina A&T. That 2018 season, he averaged 16.3 points and 7.7 rebounds, while shooting 53% from the field. Um, he currently left and went to DePaul to play in the Big East Conference. Um, excuse me, he left North Carolina A&T to play in the Big East Conference with dreams of getting to the NBA. His production went down, and currently he plays in Greece. Another athlete that attended historically black college and university is Sam Hunt. In 2017, Sam Hunt left North Carolina A&T for North Carolina State. While he was at North Carolina A&T, he averaged 16.6 points per game. He led the team in scoring. At NC State, he was a bench 3-point shooting specialist and averaged 5.5 points a game. Currently, he's an assistant coach at North Carolina A&T. A fun fact about Sam Hunt is um, he strived to get to NC State because he felt that was a better path to get him to the NBA. But when he got to NC State, all his teammates felt excluded at NC State, that they weren't a part of the institution, and they used to ask him to take them to North Carolina A&T every weekend so they could, party and relax and just, be normal college kids instead of the paparazzi personalities that ACC basketball players are. I find that funny that Sam, he craved the paparazzi and the notoriety. Um, and once he got there, his teammates craved what he had just to be able to walk around campus and be a regular student and look like everyone else. So that's a contrast, and an interesting contrast of that. Our last player that I would like to focus it will be R.J. Cole. In 2018, R.J. Cole left Howard for the University of Connecticut, also known as UConn. He sat out last season due to transfer rules, so he'll be eligible to play this year. Um, this NCAA season. This season, a lot of teams are facing different challenges. The New Mexico teams, which is New Mexico State. Um, there's a rule that you can't gather in New Mexico, so the whole basketball team is uprooting itself and moving to a different state so they can play remotely and take online learning and then just represent New Mexico as they travel until the ban is lifted in New Mexico. Um, as again, he had to sit out last season, but before he left Howard, he was the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference Rookie of the Year in 2017 and 18, and he was the Player of the Year in 2018 and 19. Also, he was honorable mention All American. He was one of the most decorated players at Howard. He played in 67 games. He started 66 of those, and he averaged 22, almost 23 points a game with 4 rebounds and 6 assists, shooting 37% from the 3-point range. He reached 1,000 points in 44 games. That's faster than any other player in Howard history. He left Howard with 1,500 points and 418 assists. Um, Again, this is talent. If you look at Jackie Robinson when he left Negro League Baseball, when your top athletes leave the conference, obviously it becomes watered down and it's never going to get to the level that it needs to compete. Again, I would like to reference the Japanese baseball league, where they mandate that Japanese citizens must play in this league for a duration of time before they go to Major League Baseball to protect and improve the vision and sanctity of the Japanese league, which I totally agree with. Um, a lot of these athletes again feel like they cannot go to the NBA from historically black colleges, and the reasons they give are lack of television exposure, competition, facilities, and fan experience. Now, if you rate those reasons, fan experience, facilities, competition, and television exposure, to me, I don't think any of them are relative. Um, Division 1 is Division 1, so a lot of these historically black colleges participate in what they call pay for play games, where they'll play a larger institution for a big paycheck. Oftentimes, or sometimes in football, there's upsets. There's even rare occasions there's upsets in men's basketball. But sometimes that does happen. If you look at Coppin State's runs in the NCAA tournament, Paulo Quinn's Norfolk State team, and Delaware State made a run, I believe, one year where they played Duke University down to the wire. They used a 1-4 high technique and gave their center the ball at the point guard, and brought Duke center out and was able to achieve a good positive results with that, keeping the game close. Um, I can't help but mention North Carolina Central's Lavelle Moten, who's been in the NCAA tournament 3 of the past 5 years as one of the top trailblazing coaches, not only in historically black college basketball, but basketball in general. He's a part of the USA team and is also mentored by Coach Krzyzewski, who is the other coach in Durham. So shout out to Coach Moten. Um, a lot of these athletes need to realize that is you're talented, they will find you where you're at. I've had coaches tell me that, and other players at different places I've worked, because oftentimes people fall under the lure of the larger stadium or the crowd. But as we all know, a lot of the players in the ACC don't make it to the NBA or the NFL. So again, it's about what you bring to the table. Um, let's take a short break real quick, and we'll come back. We'll continue on the subject and talk about the international slant of the NBA, and why is that. So stay with us, and we'll be right back.
See me. See me.
See me. See my dark skin My kinky hair.
See me. Don't see past me.
Don't see through me.
See me.
See my tan skin and my curly hair.
See me.
Don't see past me.
Don't see through me.
See me.
See my face, wet with tears from years of oppression.
See my hands, weathered and worn from decades of pulling myself up through your society.
See my feet split from centuries of walking your delicate line.
See me.
See me.
See me.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
Greetings and welcome back. Ms. Taylor, again, thank you so much for that PSA. It resounds to me on many levels, and I hope everyone else takes heed of what it says. Again, I'm Jamar Harp, and this is Sports 101, the sports show that discusses sports beyond the X's and O's. We look at the game from a historical perspective, looking at things from the past, present, and future. Again, make sure you get social, not only with Sports 101, but all the shows upcoming on SportsZone Chicago. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, SportsZone Chicago. You really need to do this. Again, there's new shows starting all the time. There's a couple that started this week, very informative. And again, best sports talk app I've saw. Um, Please subscribe to that app. You can find it on the YouTube channel when you search Sports Zone Chicago. But download the app on the iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Again, before we left, we were talking about the international presence in the NBA. If you look at the current NBA rosters, there are 108 international players on opening day rosters last year. Now that 108, a lot of the players you may consider domestic, just because they play college basketball over here, they're not. Um, when you're considered an international, if you're not a citizen of the United States. Now we know a good number that are from Europe. However, we keep seeing the push with either people from Nigeria or Nigerian Americans, as that market is growing. Hence, the Nigerian Basketball Association that is founding. Um, right now, I want to take a look at the European players. If you look at since the inception of NBA Europe, which happened after the Barcelona Olympics, where the European teams were, beaten pretty bad. The NBA invested a lot of money to enhance basketball in Europe. Again, I think this is to combat the large percentage of its population, which is of African descent, either African American or through some entity in the diaspora, which they come from. Um, you've had a lot of great successful players from Europe, in particular Eastern Europe, but there's a lot more that have failed that didn't make it through the pipeline of getting picked by a EuroLeague team and moving up through the ranks, playing in a FIBA tournament, maybe playing against the United States B or C team, which is filled with the college players, and then getting scouted for the NBA Combine. Um, a lot of people don't make it like Dirk Nowitzki, and just grow and blossom like that. Similar to soccer in regards to the African players that strive to go to Europe and compete in the European leagues. A lot of the European basketball players that strive to go to the NBA fail out, either in the college process, um, not being able to compete at the college level over here or in the NBA. One of the main things that hurt them is being able to defend. Um, if you look at the NBA, it's a fast-paced game where again, man defense is prevalent. They do play some zone, but man is the priority. So everybody needs to be able to move their feet. And as the game has evolved, you just can't be the dead shot shooter that stays in the corner. The Steve Kerr days are over. You have to run around and also be able to defend to some degree. If you look at the current European players in the draft, um, we can just discuss them and do a mini SWOT analysis, and you can kind of decide if they're getting special treatment. The first one I want to talk about is Denvi Avdia. He's a 6'8" forward from Israel. He played for Maccabi in Tel Aviv. Again, the European teams all compete under the FIBA system. Uh, and his team out of Tel Aviv is one of those teams. Some of the critics analyzed him as being a weak defender, struggling to shoot from deep, and to play down low, he would, have to be, be a banger if he didn't have the athleticism to jump over people, either for a hook shot or the rebound. And, lacking that skill set, they're wondering, if he, is going to be a deciding factor. Again, I question, if he was anyone else, would he be able to be in the draft? If it was a college player, regardless of race, let's say it was an American college player, and you said, well, he can't jump. He's 6'8". He can't play in the post because he can't jump. He's skinny. He's not athletic. He has a mid-range shot, but he can't shoot deep and he can't defend. They would tell him to go to graduate school, but since he's from Europe, he's going to be in the top uh, maybe 10 or 15 players selected. Most likely a lottery pick. Another player is Killian Hayes. He's a 6'5" point guard who played for Ulm in Germany. Now, some fun facts about Killian. He's a black American Frenchman. I'll say that again. He's a black American Frenchman. So his dad played at Penn State, and then he played in the ABA and then was signed to a French team. Uh, so he never came back to the United States. Killian was born in Florida, while his dad was playing in the ABA, but his dad wouldn't let him come back to the States and play high school ball because, again, in Europe, you could turn pro at a young age. So he didn't want him to go to high school and then have to go pro. Um, and then go to the NBA because again he's not a component of the current NCAA system in regards to how it uses athletes. His dad being overseas for so long, seeing so many teenagers be able to play professionally in all sports, and particularly basketball. Um, so he's a top prospect. He's known for his ability to play the pick and roll. He's a 6'5" guard that has some athleticism, and he should be able to compete, as they say. Um, Remember our previous shows we talked about France in regards to its players and population due to the Afro-Franco linguistic countries in West Africa. They have a large diaspora population, and we're starting to see more French athletes. A lot of people know Tony Parker and Siakam and a lot of these guys, but there's actually more guys coming from France, and Killian Hayes is one of them. We have another French player next named Theo Maladon. Maladon is a 6'5" point guard, and he played for Asvel in France. Um, he's an Afro Frenchman, born and raised in France. Uh, Both his parents played for the French national team on different levels, and he's actually from Normandy, the same area Tony Parker's from, and played for Tony Parker's old team. He's a traditional point guard, and he's expected to compete. Being 6'5", and having young legs. Uh, he should be able to contribute to his team. And again, he's projected as a top 14 or lottery pick. Um, we can also look at Aleska Pujaveski from Olympiakos. He's a 7 foot Serbian, but he can shoot, but he's very light and cannot play defense. Again, oftentimes the trend in Europe because they don't focus on inside play. A lot of their fives are what they call stretch fives and stretch fours, where they don't play in the paint. They move out and stretch the defender, and they like to shoot jump shots, but they, lack the foot speed when the defender puts the ball on the court. So their transition to the NBA game oftentimes is delayed. If you remember when Tony Kukoc came to the Chicago Bulls, even if you don't remember, if you watched the documentary on ESPN, I'm sure everybody watched that. They talked about how they used to get on Tony about his defense when he first got there, and he had to take more pride in that. Some other international players being considered as lottery picks would be Leandro Bolamar. Um, he's a power forward from Barcelona. He played for FC Barcelona, the basketball team, not the soccer team. And then you have another Nigerian, Udoka Azubuike, the center from Kansas, Killian Tilly, another Afro Frenchman from Gonzaga, um, uh, Afro Frenchman Abdullah Ndoye, uh, as well as Mamadou Diake from Virginia. He's from Guinea. So there's a lot of the international players. As you can see, unlike previous years, there started to be more and more players from the African continent. Again, as I previously stated, either first generation Americans or uh, natives, in particularly one of the West African countries, that experienced colonization. Uh, with this Nigerian Basketball Association that's starting, and it's going to have teams again. It's going to be teams in different countries throughout, Africa. So it'll be northeast, northwest, west, southeast, southwest. I predict a lot more individuals from the continent not only coming to America and flooding the prep school, high school system, but the college system as well. Um, a quick caveat that I like to discuss is, um, again, a lot of these European players have the same deficit, yet they get drafted by NBA teams. And as I stated earlier, other players with the same deficits are shunned and told to scout, go to grad school, etc. So the question we have to ask is, why is the NBA so willing to develop European players and take them when they can't play defense? They they're not strong. During the NBA Combine, they have a bench press test, and what a lot of people don't know is they take record of the no reps. So there's a lot of basketball players that go through there and they can't do 225 one time. Kevin Durant was one of those, but again, he's an extraordinary talent. But a lot of the European players, they can't lift the weight, they can't play defense, which is a tenet or staple of the game, and they can't play inside, but they're given so many opportunities. And you got to remember, an NBA contract is guaranteed. So once you sign it, regardless of how you pan out, you still become a multi-millionaire. So we have to look at these things that are going on and ask, why is the NBA doing this? Why they're investing so much money in Europe, trying to find, the next European star. Um, our last subject I'd like to talk about would be the resurgence of historically black college basketball. Um, Mikey Williams, one of the top recruits of the 2023 class, has stated multiple times that going to a HBU wouldn't be so bad. Um, he's one of the players that are opening up and starting the trend of looking at going to these Division One historically black colleges and universities to play basketball. One reason is this generation is social media motivated. Uh, they understand the power of marketing, the power of themselves. Um, Another thing is with the social media, if you use it the right way, you can get a lot of information. And these kids are learning a lot of things that happened in the past and the present, and they're seeing them regurgitate in the future. So they're deciding to do something different. A lot of the children are seeing that um, you're getting taken advantage of when you go to a predominant institution, and historically black institutions were the best at first before integration hit. So they're saying why not go back and do this. Also, again, a lot of the police killings and protests are spurring a lot of these kids to make this decision, and seeing that these people aren't really for me, so I may not want to go to their institution and make them millions if I know I'm going to the NBA anyway. Um, the George Floyd killing and other killings in that same manner again have sparked these young men. Um, there's a quote I would like to use from Lavelle Moten. Again, he's one of the top coaches in basketball, period. But he made a very profound quote I would like to read to you right now. When we look back 40 years from now, we'll realize this was a historical, a monumental time that we're living in. This will be in the history books. This is the day the world changed. The movement feels different. They're tired, meaning the student athletes, of the status quo and the in vogue and what's happening. They want to reclaim their power. We need to care about us. It shouldn't be a crime that I want to go support my own. Again, Lavelle Moten is a star coach of the North Carolina Central University men's basketball team. He's won countless MEAC conference championships since he's became the head coach, produced All Americans. He works with the United States basketball team, and again is mentored by Coach Krzyzewski. And what he said, actually takes precedent. Um, you have to understand that a lot of movements are started by the youth. If you look at the civil rights movement, whether you agree with it or you don't, it was started by students, henceforth the Student Nonviolence Coordinating Committee, or SNCC. So it again is students starting an athletic revolution of saying that we empowered these schools. I like to tell people a story. Again, I'm a graduate of North Carolina Central University. The school down the street, Duke University, used to be called Trinity College. The Duke brothers, who owned tobacco plantations, ended up acquiring some land. The school became named after them, and they took a small religious school, which is still very small in regards to total space or acreage per se, and created into a top basketball power by using athletes that in the secret game that we talked about on the previous show, beat the brakes off of them. As John McClendon, the other historic basketball coach from North Carolina Central, founded the fast break offense. So students are learning this stuff and seeing, well, I can go make a change and I can help, my people out, and, not, put millions and millions so they can build these new facilities and, stretch the gap. We want to close the gap. Um, a lot of this came about after Texas Western and its all black starting five beat Kentucky in the 1966 men's basketball national championship. The movie Glory Road categorizes that. That team was coached by, Adolph Rupp, who was one of the famous coaches in NCAA history, and had a star power forward by the name of Pat Riley. And the basic notion of that was starting, black five and basketball couldn't beat an all white black five. And this is the 1960s. And my mom was born in 1947, and I was born in 1979. So a lot of people that feel this way are still alive, which is a shame, but it just goes to show you the feelings that were going on. Now, after this victory, again, this was started the landslide, and you can see the black college ranks being decimated. So there was no more Earl Poor Monroes or Sam Jones or individuals like that, as the other schools found this talent and began to use that to get facilities and start this arms race with other institutions. If you look at the 2020 top HBU commitments, a lot of these individuals are difference makers, uh, part of the group that Coach Lavelle Moten is referencing, saying they're tired and they want to make a change. The first athlete in this group would be Meku Maker. Now he was eligible for the draft this year and could have went in, but he took himself out. He has two cousins that play in the NBA and is already kind of wealthy already. Um, he chose Howard University to attend, and he will be playing for them once the season starts. Before choosing Howard, he turned down the NBA, as I previously stated, UCLA, Kentucky, and various other institutions. Now, the makers are from Kenya, but he actually moved to Australia with his family for better job opportunities and matriculated through the school ranks there. The next athlete would be Nate Tabor from Norfolk State. He signed there. Um, he turned down St. John's. He was the number two player in the state of Connecticut. And if you know anything about Connecticut, Connecticut is part of the tri-states area, which would be New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. And if you don't go to Yukon, a lot of players may go to the city, play for St. John's or one of the Ivy League schools, maybe in New Jersey, somewhere like that. But he turned down St. John's and chose Norfolk State, which is, big. Um, Next player I'd like to talk about is Duncan Powell. Duncan Powell chose again the rival North Carolina A&T. Duncan's a 6'8" power forward from Arkansas. And the reason he chose North Carolina A&T is because he had family that played there before, and when he went to the campus, he said he felt like home. And was an atmosphere where he could enjoy himself off the basketball court. A lot of these students are realizing that they're student athletes, as you like to call them. So when they be a student or when they're in that student mode, they want to enjoy themselves. And everyone knows some of the incidences you find at a predominantly white institution, especially as a student athlete and a black male. So they're deciding to be students in an environment that they're more comfortable in. The last we'll have is Nogel Eastern. He's a 6'7" guard, and he transferred from Purdue University. He wasn't a big scorer, but he was a great on the ball defender, and he was able to, stymie a lot of people in the Big 12. So he's a contributor who's supposed to take this defense into the Big South Conference. As again, North Carolina A&T has left the MEAC. Some final thoughts in regards to what we discussed before closing out. Again, these high school kids, these young black males, are growing up in America with social media and the news cycle that's 24 hours. They're seeing a lot of incidences that may have not been seen before. They're seeing global news. They're also learning information about themselves and their people, and what happened in the past, what's going on now, and they're learning that they can be agents of change for the future. I think it's beautiful what's taking place, and why not shake it up a little bit? Why not have some of these Division One historically black colleges, uh, competing in the Final Four or winning the NCAA championship? Let's level the playing field and have all these Division One colleges on the same level instead of making it big Division One and little Division One with the black schools being the bottom of the totem pole. Um, I believe we're going into a renaissance of HBCU athletics. due to this cultural and social awareness. And as it continues, the things I stated should be happening in the next few years. Thank you for enjoying the show this evening. Remember, follow us on Twitter at SportsZone Chicago, Facebook at SportsZone Chicago, and Instagram at SportsZone Chicago. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, search SportsZone Chicago, but most importantly, download the SportsZone Chicago app. The app can be found on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Thank you so much for staying with me on this sports journey, and I will see you next week at our normal time. Have a great evening, everyone.
See me.
See me.
See me. See my dark skin and my kinky hair.
See me.
Don't see past me.
Don't see through me.
See me.
See my tan skin and my curly hair.
See me.
Don't see past me.
Don't see through me.
See me.
See my face, wet with tears from years of oppression.
See my hands, weathered and worn from decades of pulling myself up through your society.
See my feet split from centuries of walking your delicate line.
See me.
See me.
See me.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
Compassion, noun. Sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. We're all born with it. It's in us. Don't believe me? When you hear a baby cry, something pulls at you. You want to ease that pain. You want to soothe that hurt. No one had to teach you that. It's called compassion, and it's in you. However, at some point you turned it off when it came
To me.
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 The cries of my soul have gone unheard, but today, you will hear me.
My heart has wailed a melody loud enough to shatter your ears, and you ignored me. But this week, you will hear me.
This body has beat the drums of anguish, only to be silenced. But this month, you will hear me.
This year,
This decade,
This century,
I will be heard, and
you will be the one to hear me.
and when I am finally heard,
Show compassion.
show compassion.
show compassion.
Remember.
It's in you.